Thank you for joining us today. This is J.D. Henry with my guest Tyler McCaffety with K&G Capital Mortgage. This is part 2 of his podcast, and welcome, Tyler.
Thank you, Jimmy. Appreciate it.
Glad to have you. Give me an idea how, if people want to get started in buying real estate, whether it be a house or a trailer house, when they come to you, how do they get started? How do you do that?
I mean, the first step when you're going to buy is you don't jump out there and start going and looking at houses, right?
Don't get ahead of yourself.
Don't get ahead of yourself.
You need to get qualified to buy. That's the issue, isn't it?
Yeah, figure out
what you can buy.
Exactly. Figure out what your finances are.
Right.
How much am I going to spend on a house that, number one, is hopefully in my budget? Because I have a whole lot of people that call me and ask me, hey, Tyler, what can I qualify for? I stop them right there and I go, it doesn't matter what you can qualify for. I could qualify you for a $400,000 house, but if you can only afford a $200,000 house, that's where we need to be talking.
Which means really being able to make the payment of that house, because not only making the mortgage of the home, but included in that mortgage payment may be taxes and insurance.
Correct.
And then once you do get a house, even though if it's brand new, you got to pay to have the yard cleaned up.
Right.
Somebody's got to do it. Everything you do equivalates to money. So a lot of people don't think about that. Hey, I've got a brand new home. Well, you have to look at everything, what it's going to cost you to live month to month.
Yep. Well, a lot of people, they call me and they go, Tyler, I've gone on Google and I've done the calculator. If I buy this house at this price, my payment is X number of dollars. And I go, no, get off of the internet.
And that's what makes you different.
Right. I say, stop looking at what Zillow and Realtor.com tells you your monthly payments are. Number one, how much are you putting down? Well, minimum. Well, cool. Because Realtor.com and Zillow just told you to put down 20%. I'm telling you what your payments are based off the minimum payment that you're telling me, because you're starting out. Probably the biggest fallacy that I have to deal with on a daily basis is people call me and say, hey, Tyler, I want to buy a house, but I don't have 20%. And everything I read tells me I need 20%. That's one of the biggest myths in mortgage. Typically, if you don't qualify for one of our zero down programs, which we have, people can buy a house with a zero down payment, then typically you're going to be 3% to 5% of the purchase price. So a $200,000 house at maximum is going to cost you out of pocket for your down payment $10,000.
Right.
As little as $6,000 to $10,000. Right. So, but the problem people have is they Google and they research and they read articles, but they never talk to a professional. And they go out and they get with a realtor before they ever get with a finance company, and they start looking at all these houses and they fall in love with the house they can't qualify for.
Right.
Or that they can't afford. Right. I don't know how many times you go to the movies every week or every month. I don't know how many times you go out to eat. What do your kids' activities cost you? Those kind of things have to play into the scenario of you buying a house. Because if you buy too much house, you're going to sacrifice somewhere. When you buy a house, typically there's going to be sacrifice involved. You're giving up something unless you just absolutely know, I'm buying under what my means allow.
Well, that's the problem with a lot of people. That reminds me back when I worked for the new Ford store here in Huntsville, Texas, that we had Ford Motor Credit. We can instantly get them approved right on the spot. But several times people would look at a certain vehicle that they really wanted, and then we had to pre-qualify them to say, hey, you really can't buy that vehicle because this is all your outstanding balances and what you have and what it's going to cost for you to operate that vehicle. And we wind up selling them a vehicle, sure, but maybe they didn't buy the house they wanted, because in reality the truth was they wouldn't be able to afford it.
Well, and another thing I tell my clients, again, what I try to do that separates me from other people by informing and educating my clients, if you're going and looking at houses, say I get you qualified for $200,000, and I tell your realtor, hey, look, this is what they're qualified for. Stay in this range. If y'all decide to go out and look at something a little more expensive, let me know so I can rerun the numbers, make sure the borrower's okay with it. But ask the seller on these houses what their utility bills are. Okay? Most people aren't doing that. They're getting into a house, looking at the mortgage payment, and they're not realizing what the utilities are going to cost them. Maybe that house was built in the 80s and it wasn't energy efficient. Maybe the windows weren't replaced. So they're allowing heat to come in, and during the winter, it's going to cost you more money to heat that house because, it's just not efficient. So their electric bill's $400 as opposed to what they thought it was going to be was maybe $150.
And they may have an air conditioner that's not really energy efficient. It's a 15-year-old unit, so they need to get with the previous owner and then ask those questions, because it's going to cost them.
Yeah, well, they're the ones that pay the bill at the end of the day. I
Sure.
mean, I'm going to finance this house for you. And at the end of the day, when you move in, guess what? You're going to call me and ask me questions on specific things, but I'm not the one making the mortgage.
Right.
That's why I want to make sure these conversations are had up front, so my borrowers get what they need to make an educated decision. Most people are just jumping in, unfortunately, there's a big difference between an internet lender who has no relationship probably with the realtors or the borrowers or the community that their borrowers are buying in.
Right.
Than somebody like me who lives and operates, and I'm at the Little League baseball games, and I'm at the social functions with the business people. I have to look these people in the face every single month, and I'm accountable to that.
Well,
Right?
your deal is, yes, you've got to live with them, and you want them as a lifetime customer,
Right.
and you want them to send you referrals, and that's what makes you unique, because you do go the extra mile and you do the right thing, because they know you, they know they can trust you.
They're not a number.
The internet, right, and these internet pushers, they're like corporate America. They're interested just in numbers, running cattle through a chute, where you take a vested interest in your client.
Correct. And I've had clients where we've closed several houses for over the past, where we get down to closing and the borrower calls me and says, Tyler, I don't have enough money to close. And I can't do this in every deal, because at the end of the day we have to make money to stay in business. But there are some deals that I can actually go out, and I've given every dime that I was going to make from that loan to put that family in that house, because they weren't going to get there without it.
Right.
I'm not calling the realtor and saying, hey, realtor, you need to give up some money so this buyer can have this house. At the end of the day, I'm going to go, here's my gift to you. And I don't necessarily tell the client that, because I don't want them to feel like they're getting something from me, and that there's some sort of jaded feeling.
Basically, they wouldn't have got in the house if you hadn't did your sacrifice on your end.
Right.
But there again, that's what makes you unique, and then in your heart that they are going to refer some business to you, and then they'll be better off down the road, let's say, and they may upgrade to a different house.
Right.
Like
you said, lifetime clients.
Sure.
This business is all about repeat business. I mean,
Amen.
referrals and family and friends and things like that. So that's what makes this business, like I've said before, worth it.
True.
Making the dream happen, making the dream a reality.
And then all these realtors know that they can trust you, and therefore they're bringing you the business.
Correct.
You see, and then the clients bring you the business. So
It's
it's a
that little-
win-win-win.
It's that little extra that separates people like me from everybody else.
Sure.
And there's other good lenders out there. I'm not saying I'm the only good one, but I do everything in my power to make sure that my clients get everything from me that they need to make a deal happen.
Well, the main thing, you've got an excellent reputation out there.
Thank you.
Well, the name McCaffety is big as a foundation and a pillar of the community, and you hold it up well. So
Thank
that's
you.
great.
I appreciate it. That means a
Well,
lot.
it is true.
Thank you. Well, it comes through a lot of hard work and blood, sweat, and tears, but it's a blessing from God for sure.
Nobody has a crystal ball on anything. We might not even be here tomorrow, but that's okay. But what do you think about the future of the interest rates in the mortgage field? I mean, who knows?
People ask me that question a lot, like, what are rates going to do? Should I lock today? Should I hold? What should I do, Tyler? And I go, no, there's no crystal ball. But there's one thing I love about my business, I love about being in finance, is that numbers don't lie, people do. Right? Numbers are a story, and if you know how to read the story, you can gather patterns and figure out certain things that are probably going to happen. The Fed last year, at the end of 2023, came out and said they were going to drop rates 6 times this year in 2024. Well, historically, we can always have been able to predict that rates were going to have a reduction in a presidential election year.
Right.
2024 is a presidential
brother.
election year, right?
Sure.
One side versus the other, And the Federal Reserve, which I always plug this when this comes up, when the Federal Reserve, which is a private entity, right? It's not a government corporation.
Right.
It's not a government entity. I'm sorry.
Right.
It's a private entity run by a board of directors, right? Making decisions that affects all of us.
True.
On a daily basis.
Yeah, it affects the world.
Affects the world, yeah.
Right.
Monetary policy of
Right.
the world. And these guys come out and they give opinions, right? Opinions
True. Right.
based on numbers, statistics. We had the CPI, the Consumer Price Index, come out the other day for March. What did it tell us? It told us that inflation was up 3.5% over the last 12 months. That's actually wrong. That number's not up 3.5%. That's an average number based on certain sectors and factors. Real estate factors into a part of that 3.5%.
Sure.
They said the real estate number was up 5.7%, if I'm not mistaken, over the last 12 months. So the cost, okay?
Right.
So people ask me, when should I invest in real estate? Well, the best time to invest in real estate was yesterday.
Right.
Because it was cheaper
Sure.
yesterday. It didn't matter what the interest rates were.
Right.
Because the cost of the property goes up over time, right? And with what's going to happen with rates, I think that whether rates go up or down is semi-irrelevant to the short term for buyers asking, should I buy now? My answer is always yes when it's should I buy now, because think about it right now. Interest rates are up over the last 4 or 5 years, right? And they had gone down to like 2.5%. They'd gone up as high as 8% at middle of end of last year, and now they're sitting in the sevens,
right?
Okay, high sixes, mid sevens. So if you bought a house for $200,000 today, or you looked at a house that was $200,000 today, and your interest rate was 7%, and you go out there and you tell the seller, it's been sitting on the market for about 90 to 100 days. That seller's pretty motivated to sell.
Right.
It's for sale for a reason. They want to sell it. They're not looking to hold on to it. So you're competing with less buyers today because the interest rates are higher, right? It's supply and demand. You got fewer buyers looking at the demand that's on the market. Should you wait until interest rates drop to buy a house? No.
That's the gold rush. People rush in, and then what it does,
Right.
people raise the prices of the house, so it offsets it. Do you pay more then?
Exactly. So you're going to wait for interest rates to magically drop to a specific number to get you in the market. Well, guess what? There's 100,000 other people in your area doing the same thing,
right?
As opposed to the people that go, I'm going to look now.
Waiting.
I'm going to negotiate the price. You don't make money. You know this. You do not make money when you sell real estate. You make money when you buy it.
Correct.
Right? So if rates are high right now, what do you have? Negotiating power. Right. Because you're competing with less buyers. Right? When rates were super low, people were going in and paying over listing price for houses. They were paying more than what it was worth.
It's like during COVID,
exactly.
when people were paying over window stickers, several $1,000s on cars. And now the dealerships, new car dealerships, are suffering. You can go in there and get one at invoice.
No, they're cutting.
They want it to go away.
Correct. They want to get the production number
That's
up.
right.
Mm-hmm. Well, and so that's why I tell people, if you're looking at a $200,000 house, negotiate the price to $175,000. Take your 7% interest rate, and when rates do drop, guess what? You got the savings on the house, and you got the savings on the interest rate because you'll refinance down, and you saved money. Your monthly payment's less if you financed it at $175,000 at 7%, than if you financed it at $200,000 at 6%.
So they've actually made money. It was 7.5%. Then when it finally falls to 3.5%, they can come back to you and you can refinance the whole deal for them to put them in that lower payment, and they still have that beautiful home that has gone up in value.
Correct.
And reduced their payment.
They gain what they bought it at a lower value because when they purchased it, right? So they bought value. They gain the appreciation because real estate in Texas is secure and safe, okay? We don't see the swings of like other states like California, New York, and Florida, okay?
Right.
You might get it in certain specific areas like Austin or downtown Dallas or things such as that, okay? But if you're in these smaller communities or in these outer areas, you're going to see appreciation, 2, 3, 4% a year. Okay, that's okay. You're making money on that. And then when the interest rates do drop, say they just go to 5.5%, fantastic.
You still made money.
You made money.
Amen.
You made money on what you bought and on what you financed.
Right.
That's smart real estate.
Sure.
So when people ask me, should I buy today? Yes, because there's no better time to buy than now. Tomorrow, you will pay more. True. And so when it comes down to what the market's going to do, it's a political year, right? I think that interest rates I think the Fed's going to come out later in the year. My guess has all along been September.
Right.
I have been predicting
close to the election.
September is going to be the magic mark where the Fed's going to go, here's a bone, we're throwing you a bone, presidential election.
Sure.
And market's going to drop a little just before to give the sentiment of confidence.
Right.
Right? Even though consumer price indexes are up saying that it costs more to live, it costs more to buy. We all know that.
Sure.
Okay? when they tell you that the inflation rate is, they want it to be 2%, well, you're not going to get inflation rate of 2% per year. Back post-COVID, right? Between 2021 to 2023, the price of eggs was up like, I believe my numbers are correct, around 63%.
Right. So that's a myth at 3%. Look at the price of gasoline. Look at bread. You just mentioned eggs, milk. I mean, we all know what it really is.
Yeah.
And it's a myth. How can something triple in price and you say it's 3%? That's not true.
Well, that's why they average numbers.
Well, yeah.
But that's why I
average
say,
of what they
right.
say.
That's why I say numbers don't lie, people do.
Sure. That's right. Well, Tyler, appreciate you for coming in today.
Thank you, Jimmy.
Thank you for this wonderful podcast, and
it's a lot of fun.
We look forward to having you back one day when things change, and we'll get an update on it. Tell the audience about yourself and where they can find you.
Yeah, Tyler McCaffety with K&G Capital Mortgage, the McCaffety team. I'm here in Huntsville, Texas, at 1312 10th Street. You can find me on the internet, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, any of those sources. And if you want to, give me a call at 936-661-7618. I'm always available. Love to answer questions and help you no matter where you're at in the buying process.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.